The meeting hall floated in space between the stars. It was a massive building where leaders from different alien races came together. Today, everyone looked scared and tired. They had been fighting a war for 3 months and they were losing badly. Commander Velkthar stood in front of everyone. He had 4 arms and blue skin. His race was called the Centaurians. He looked at the big screen showing numbers and maps. The numbers were bad. Very bad. We have lost 17 star systems, Velkthar said. His voice was quiet, but everyone could hear him. The enemy has destroyed most of our ships. We only have a few left. They will reach our home planets in 2 days. The aliens in the room looked at each other. Some were crying. Others just stared at nothing. They all knew what was coming. Death. The end of everything they loved. The enemy was called the Ravagers. Nobody knew where they came from. They just appeared one day and started destroying everything. They didn't want to talk. They didn't want peace. They just wanted to eat. They ate planets, stars, even the dust in space. Everything they ate became part of them. More ships. More weapons. More death. Is there anything we can do? Asked Ambassador Lyria. She was made of crystal and her body shined with many colors. Her people were peaceful and kind. They had never hurt anyone. Now they were about to die. We can run, Velkthar said. We can take our people and try to escape. But the Ravagers are fast. They will catch us. Maybe not today, but eventually. Everyone became quiet. Running meant leaving their homes. It meant watching their worlds burn. But staying meant dying right now. It was a terrible choice. Then someone spoke from the back of the room. His name was Counselor Dren. He was old and very smart. He knew a lot about history and different alien races. There is one more option, Dren said slowly. He looked nervous. There is a species we have not contacted. They live far away from here on the edge of the galaxy. Who are they? Asked the High Arbiter Zin. He was the leader of all the alien races in the meeting. They call themselves humans, Dren answered. They come from a planet called Earth. We studied them once many years ago. We decided not to make friends with them. Why not? Lyria asked. Dren's face moved in a strange way. He was scared. Because their planet is extremely dangerous. The gravity is very high. The weather is violent. There are animals everywhere that want to kill and eat each other. The humans evolved by hunting other animals. They are predators. We found them disturbing. Velkthar made a sound like a laugh, but it was sad. You want us to ask predators for help? What can they do? They are primitive. They only got space travel 60 years ago. We have had it for thousands of years. That is true, Dren said. But they have something we do not have. They know how to survive when everything is trying to kill them. Their whole planet tried to kill them for millions of years. Ice covered their world. Giant rocks fell from space. Volcanoes exploded. Diseases spread everywhere. They should have died 100 times. But they didn't. They survived. They always survive. The room was silent. Everyone was thinking about what Dren said. There is something else, Dren continued. Humans have a strange way of thinking. When they know they cannot win, they fight anyway. We have studied their history. They have wars where small groups fought against huge armies. They had no chance to win. But they won anyway. They refuse to give up even when giving up makes sense. You are saying they are crazy, Velkthar said. I am saying they are dangerous in ways we do not understand, Dren replied. We are civilized. We fight with rules and honor. Humans fight to survive. They will do anything to win. They are creative and unpredictable. If we're going to die anyway, maybe we should call the most dangerous species in the galaxy and ask for help. High Arbiter Zin stood up. He was very tall and his skin was silver. We will vote. Should we contact the humans and ask for their help? Every leader in the room raised their hand. Even the ones who were scared of humans. They were more scared of dying. Zin walked to a communication panel. He pressed some buttons and spoke clearly. This is the Galactic Council calling Earth. We need help. We are being destroyed by an enemy we cannot defeat. We know we rejected your friendship before. We were wrong. We are asking now, not as superiors, but as people who want to live. Please help us. He sent the message into space. It would travel very fast, but it would still take time to reach Earth. Everyone waited. They did not know if the humans would answer. They did not know if the humans even cared. Then, faster than anyone expected, a message came back. It was just a voice, rough and tired but strong. This is Admiral Kyle Martinez of Earth Defense Command. We got your message. We are coming. Earth does not leave its neighbors behind, even neighbors who did not want to be friends. Send us your location and tell us everything about the enemy. Humanity is on the way. In the background, they could hear alarms and people running. The humans were already moving to help. Velkthar looked at the map showing where Earth was. It was so far away. They will never arrive in time. We will be dead before they get here. Maybe, Dren said. But now we have something we did not have before. We have hope, and we have allies who know how to fight. The humans told us to hold the line. I think that means we must stand and fight until they arrive. All the alien leaders returned to their ships. They would gather their forces and prepare for battle. They knew they would probably die. But now they had a reason to fight. Help was coming. Somewhere far away in space, the human fleet was preparing for war. The aliens did not know what they had started. They did not know what humans were truly capable of. They were about to find out. The Ravagers had destroyed many civilizations. They had won every battle. They had never lost. But they had never fought humans before. They had never faced a species that refused to die no matter what. The war was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency meeting happened very fast. Leaders from every country on Earth came together in a space station above the planet. They all looked serious. Admiral Kyle Martinez stood in front of them with pictures and data floating in the air. The aliens are in trouble, Martinez said. The enemy is called the Ravagers. They do not want to talk or make peace. They just eat everything. Planets, stars, ships, people. Everything becomes fuel for more ships and weapons. A woman named Lisa Chen stood up. She was the Secretary General, which meant she spoke for all of Earth. How many ships do they have? At least 40,000, Martinez answered. Maybe more. The Galactic Council had over 200,000 ships 3 months ago. Now they have less than 1,000. Everyone in the room started talking at once. They were scared and angry. A man named Carlos Mendoza raised his hand to speak. Admiral, we only have 800 ships. What are we supposed to do against 40,000? This is suicide. A woman in a military uniform walked forward. Her name was Elena Vasquez. She was a captain and had fought in many battles. We do what humans always do. We figure it out. We find a way. That is what makes us human. This is not about being brave, Carlos said. This is about math. We cannot win. We cannot win by doing nothing either, Elena replied. Her voice was cold and strong. The Ravagers will not stop. They will come here eventually. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10. Would you rather fight them now with allies or fight them later when they are even stronger and we are alone? Martinez nodded. She is right. If we fight them now, we have a chance. If we wait, we have no chance at all. Lisa Chen raised her hand and everyone became quiet. We need to vote. But I think we all know what we must do. Humanity did not survive this long by running away from danger. Admiral, what do you need? Everything, Martinez said. I need every ship we can make ready for battle. I need scientists to study the enemy and find weak points. I need factories working all day and night. I need our people to understand what we are fighting for. You will have it, Lisa said. We will vote now. The vote was quick. Almost everyone said yes. Earth was going to war. The next few hours were crazy. Every shipyard around Earth and on other planets started working as fast as possible. Old cargo ships were changed into warships. Transport ships got weapons added to them. Even old mining stations were turned into weapons platforms. On the moon, a man named Jake Sullivan was in charge of experimental weapons. His team had been working on dangerous new technology. Now they could finally use it. Show me what we have, Jake said to his lead scientist, Patricia Moore. Patricia smiled like someone who had been waiting for this moment. We have kinetic spike launchers. They shoot pieces of metal very fast, so fast they can destroy almost anything. We were told not to use them because they are too dangerous. The rules do not apply to aliens who want to kill everyone, Jake said. What else do you have? Quantum displacement mines. They push things out of normal space. Very messy, very effective. We tested one on an asteroid. The asteroid just disappeared. I will take all of them. On Mars, a man named Henry Powell watched as ships were prepared for battle. The biggest ship was called the Liberty. It was the most powerful ship humans had ever built. Is she ready? Henry asked his assistant. Yes, sir. All weapons work. The shields are strong. She is ready for war. Good, we need to find people willing to go fight, not people forced to go. We need volunteers who understand they might die. The message went out to everyone. Earth needed soldiers. The mission was dangerous. Many people would probably die. There were no promises of coming home alive. The response was amazing. Thousands of people volunteered immediately. Old soldiers, young pilots, engineers, doctors. By the end of the first day, they had too many volunteers. Humans, it seemed, were not afraid to fight for their neighbors. Admiral Martinez stood on his ship, the Defiant, and watched the fleet come together. 800 ships had become 900 with all the changes. It was not enough, but it would have to work. Elena Vasquez came to stand next to him. She brought coffee, a human drink that helped people stay awake and alert. "The crew is ready, sir. They know what we are facing. Do they know we will probably die?" Martinez asked. "They know," Elena said. "They also know that if we do not try, everyone dies anyway. Humans would rather die fighting than live knowing we did not try." "Did you volunteer for this?" Martinez asked. "You could have stayed on Earth, nobody would have blamed you." Elena smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "My grandmother fought in the water wars. She told me a story. Her unit was surrounded. They had no ammunition left. The enemy asked them to surrender. My grandmother said no, just no. They held their position for 16 hours until help came. I grew up hearing that story. I will not dishonor it by staying home when people need help." Martinez looked at all the ships. They were small compared to the enemy fleet, but they were ready to fight. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Tell them we are leaving in 2 days. Tell them to hold their position and fight. Tell them humanity is coming." The message was sent across the galaxy. On the Council ships, aliens who had given up hope suddenly felt something new. They felt like maybe, just maybe, they could survive. On Earth, families said goodbye to soldiers who were leaving. Many of them knew they would never see their loved ones again. But they were proud. Their family members were going to save the galaxy. In the cargo bay of the Liberty, a young soldier named Danny Cooper painted words on his armor. The words said, "Remember Earth." Another soldier, Nicole Stevens, saw the words and smiled. "Good choice," she said. "If we die out there, I want those things to know what they are fighting." "We are not the Council," Danny said. "We are not nice and civilized. We come from a dangerous planet. We know how to survive. We know how to fight, and we do not give up." All across the fleet, soldiers painted similar messages. "Remember Earth, do not give up, hold the line, not today." Each message was a promise to fight until the end. 2 days later, the fleet left Earth. 900 ships carrying humanity's best people flew into space toward a battle they probably could not win. On Earth, everyone watched the ships disappear into the darkness. They did not know if they would ever see them again, but they knew one thing for certain. Humanity had answered the call. No matter what happened next, they would face it together, fighting, never giving up, until the very end. The journey to the Galactic Council would take weeks. During that time, the Council forces would have to hold the line. They would have to survive long enough for help to arrive. It seemed impossible, but the humans had sent them a message that changed everything. Help was coming. And when humans made a promise, they kept it. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant. Commander Velkthar stood on his ship looking at the stars. 3 weeks had passed since they called Earth for help. 3 weeks of fighting and running. 3 weeks of watching friends die. His fleet was very small now. Only 700 ships left. "Status report," Velkthar ordered. He already knew it would be bad news. His officer, a young Centaurian named Kelevas, spoke with fear in his voice. "We have 743 ships that can fight. We are running out of ammunition. Our shields are weak. The Ravagers will be here in 4 hours. Velkthar felt tired, so very tired. 700 ships against 8,000 Ravager ships. The math was simple. They would all die today. "Have we heard from the humans?" he asked. "No, Commander. They should arrive in 12 hours if their calculations were correct. But we will be dead in 4 hours. Velkthar opened a communication channel to all his ships. "This is Commander Velkthar. The enemy is coming. I will not lie to you. We cannot win this battle, but we can do something important. We can buy time for our families to escape. We can show these monsters that we do not surrender. We can hold the line until our human allies arrive. Today we fight not because we will survive, but because our sacrifice matters." "Hold the line," every captain responded. They all said yes. They would fight. They would die, but they would die standing. 4 hours later, the Ravagers arrived. They came out of hyperspace like a swarm of insects. The sensors could not show how terrible they looked. The ships were not normal. They looked alive but also like machines. They moved together like bugs, eating everything in their path. "All ships fire at will," Velkthar commanded. The battle started, and it was horrible. The Council ships had better weapons and better shields. But it did not matter. The Ravagers just kept coming. For every Ravager ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. They did not care about losses. They just attacked and attacked. Velkthar's ship shook as weapons hit the shields. Calvus called out damage reports. His voice was shaking. "Sections 12 through 17 are breached. We lost the port weapons. Shields at 22%. All around them, Council ships were exploding. The beautiful crystal ship called Crystalline Hope was torn apart by enemy boarding parties. Another ship called Last Stand fought until the very end, using itself as a weapon when all else failed. "Commander, we have to run," Kelivus begged. "We cannot hold them." "No," Velkthar said quietly. "We hold." The human said 12 hours. "We hold the line." "They are not coming," Kelivus shouted. "They are just primitives who cannot help us." Then the sensors exploded with new signals. Ships were arriving. Many ships. And they were moving fast. "Very fast, multiple contacts," the sensor officer yelled. "They are coming from hyperspace at full combat speed." On the main screen, space opened up. Ships came through, but they were not moving slowly or carefully. They came through already shooting. Their weapons fired before they even finished arriving. The human fleet had come. And they were attacking like nothing the Council had ever seen. There was no formation, no careful planning. The ships moved like hunters, each one going after the nearest enemy with incredible aggression. Admiral Martinez's ship, the Defiant, led the attack. Its weapons were different from Council weapons. The humans used mass drivers. They shot pieces of metal very fast. The metal punched through Ravager ships like bullets through paper. "This is Admiral Martinez to all Council ships. We are here. Fall back and regroup. We will keep them busy." Velkthar watched in shock as a human destroyer, a small ship, crashed into a huge Ravager cruiser on purpose. The human ship exploded and took 12 Ravager ships with it. "They are insane," Kelivus whispered. "No," Velkthar said. "They are effective. All ships do as the Admiral said. Fall back to second position. Let the humans fight." Human fighter ships were amazing. They were small and fast, and they flew in ways that seemed impossible. They went between Ravager ships, making the enemy shoot each other. They sacrificed themselves to save bigger ships. They fought with creativity and rage. On the Liberty, Captain Elena Vasquez smiled as her ship's weapons destroyed a Ravager command ship. "All batteries, focus on that big one. Let us show these things what happens when they threaten our neighbors." "Captain, we are being boarded," her officer reported. "Ravager pods have breached decks 7 and 9. Send the Marines. And play some music in those sections. Let us give our guests a proper welcome." In the corridors of the Liberty, Sergeant Danny Cooper led his squad against the Ravagers. The creatures were nightmares. They had tentacles and metal parts and looked like demons. But humans had been hunting since before they left the caves. "Aim for the neural clusters," Danny shouted over the sound of gunfire. "These things might not feel pain, but they stop when you destroy their brains." The Ravagers learned something new in those corridors. Humans were pursuit predators. In small spaces, they were terrifying. Every boarding pod that entered a human ship met fierce resistance. The Ravagers were used to scaring other species, but humans responded to fear with anger and violence. Back on Velkthar's ship, he watched the battle change. The humans had lost 30 ships in the first 15 minutes. They should have retreated. Instead, they fought harder. Each loss made them more determined, not less. "Commander, I am receiving a transmission from Admiral Martinez," Kelivus said. "He is sending us target coordinates. He wants us to combine our fire with theirs." Velkthar looked at the targeting data. Martinez was identifying weak points in the Ravager formation, places where concentrated fire could break their coordination. "All ships follow the human targeting solutions. Work together with them." For the first time in weeks, the Galactic Council forces fought with hope. The humans had brought something that could not be measured. They brought the belief that winning was possible. The battle went on for 6 more hours. When it ended, the space around them was filled with debris from both sides. The Ravagers retreated. They actually ran away. They had never done that before. They left behind 5,000 destroyed ships. The human fleet had lost almost 300 ships. Nearly a third of their forces gone in one battle. Admiral Martinez opened a communication channel to Velkthar. "Commander, we need to talk about strategy. This was just their advance force. The main fleet will be here soon. Admiral, Velkthar said, his voice full of emotion. You saved us. Your people fight like nothing I have ever seen. Martinez looked tired, but his eyes were strong. We fight like people who know what extinction looks like, Commander. We have faced it before. We will face it again. But today we held the line. Now let us figure out how to win this war. As the two fleets came together, the Galactic Council began to understand something important. Humanity was not just another species with weapons. They were survivors from a world that tried to kill them every day. They were creatures who looked at impossible odds and decided to fight anyway. The Ravagers had conquered 17 star systems. They had crushed many civilizations. They had never faced anything like humans before. They did not know that humans came from a planet so dangerous it was called a death world. They did not know that humans had fought their way to the top of the food chain by refusing to give up. They were about to learn. And the lesson would be written in fire and blood across the stars. The combined fleet gathered in the Krell system while engineers fixed damaged ships. In the command center, Admiral Martinez stood looking at a big map showing the entire war. The picture was not good. The Ravagers controlled a third of Council space. They had spread across dozens of star systems like a disease. Every day they held territory, they got stronger. They turned everything into more weapons and ships. Commander Velkthar stood next to Martinez, thinking hard. We have about 1,300 ships now. The main Ravager fleet has over 35,000. We delayed them, but we cannot defeat them in a straight fight. Not with normal tactics, Martinez agreed. He pulled up different data showing how the Ravagers moved. But they are not invincible. Look at their pattern. They move from system to system in a wave, eating everything before moving forward. They do not split their forces much. They do not need to. They win by overwhelming force. Captain Elena Vasquez leaned forward, her eyes sharp. You want to hit them from behind. While they focus on pushing forward, we attack their supply lines. They do not have supply lines, Counselor Dren said. They are the supply line. Everything they eat becomes fuel. Exactly, Martinez said with a dangerous smile, which means they cannot leave systems half consumed. Every system they took is still processing materials. Those are targets. We cannot beat them in a direct fight, but we can make them fight everywhere at once. Velkthar understood. You want to attack the conquered systems. Force them to split their forces to defend what they have taken. More than that, Lieutenant Jake Sullivan added. His team had been working without sleep. We can poison the well. My team created a molecular virus that corrupts their biomechanical systems. It turns their converted materials toxic. If we deploy it in systems they already processed, they will have to abandon those resources or waste time cleaning the contamination. That is cruel, Ambassador Lyria said quietly. To poison entire star systems. They are already dead, Martinez said coldly. The Ravagers killed them. We are just making sure they cannot use the bodies. This is about survival. We are not trying to be nice. We are trying to win. The plan was bold and desperate. Split the fleet into fast strike groups. Use human ships to hit targets deep in enemy territory. Deploy the virus. Force the Ravagers to respond, to divide their attention, to make mistakes. It is suicide, Velkthar said quietly. The strike teams will be surrounded and destroyed. Probably, Martinez agreed. But if we do nothing, we die anyway. At least this way we hurt them. We buy time for evacuation. We make them bleed for every system they take. The vote was unanimous. They would do it. The Council had learned from humanity. When hope was gone, you fought anyway. When logic said surrender, you found another way. Over the next 2 days, the fleet organized into strike groups. 20 human ships and 10 Council ships in each group. 30 teams total, each going to a different target. The remaining forces would hold Krell, making the Ravagers think they were preparing for defense. On the Liberty, Captain Elena Vasquez briefed her crew. She had been assigned Strike Group 7 with orders to hit the Tarius system. Commander Velkthar's ship would go with her. I will not lie to you, Elena told her crew. This is probably a one-way trip. Our mission is to deploy the virus, cause damage, and maybe, if we are lucky, make it back. The odds are bad. But the Ravagers destroyed entire civilizations. They had families and dreams. The Ravagers took all of that and turned it into ammunition. We are going to return the favor. The crew roared their approval. The sound shook the ship. All the strike groups launched at the same time, each heading in different directions. The Ravager fleet, watching the Krell system, saw the main fleet staying in position. They thought the enemy was preparing for a last stand. They were completely wrong. Strike Group 7 came out of hyperspace in the Terria system and immediately saw horror. The system was a nightmare. The star was being eaten, wrapped in machines that fed on solar matter. The planets were just cores, everything useful stripped away and converted. Deploy the virus pods, Elena ordered. Then destroy everything. I want every processing station turned to slag. The human and council ships spread out, launching pods that would spread the virus. The Ravagers responded instantly. Defense platforms activated. Fighter craft launched to attack. The battle was brutal and fast. The Liberty's weapons fired continuously. The council ships provided shields and support fire, protecting the human ships when possible. Virus deployment complete, Lieutenant Nicole Stevens reported. It is spreading. The processing stations are already showing contamination. Then let us leave, Elena ordered. All ships full power to engines. But the Ravagers blocked their escape. Reinforcements came from the next system, cutting them off. Strike Group 7 was surrounded by over 100 enemy ships. On the Eternal Vigilance, Commander Velkthar made a decision. Human vessels, this is Velkthar. Go to the jump coordinates. We will cover your retreat. Negative, Commander, Elena responded. We do not leave people behind. You must, Velkthar said calmly. Our shields are stronger. Our ships are slower. We can buy you time, but only if you leave now. This is not sacrifice. This is tactics. We hold the line. You carry the fight forward. That is what we learned from you. Elena wanted to argue, but she understood. The council ships could hold for maybe 10 minutes. That would give the human ships time to escape. It has been an honor, Commander, she said softly. The honor was mine, Captain. Now go. Make our deaths matter. The human ships accelerated toward the jump point while the 3 council ships turned to face the Ravager swarm. What happened next would be remembered forever as an example of courage. The Eternal Vigilance and the other council ships fought with everything they had. They used tactics learned from humans. Aggressive moves, calculated risks. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, they rammed enemy ships. When their shields failed, they used their ships as bombs, exploding their reactors to take enemies with them. Commander Velkthar's last words were simple. We held the line. Strike Group 7 jumped to safety, carrying the memory of those who sacrificed everything. Around the galaxy, similar battles happened. Some strike groups escaped. Some were destroyed completely. But every single one deployed the virus. Every single one hurt the Ravagers. For the first time since the war began, the Ravager advance stopped. Not because they were defeated, but because they had to deal with problems behind them. Contaminated systems needed cleaning. Resources they counted on were now toxic. They had to split their forces to defend multiple places. The war was not over, but the rules had changed. The prey had become predators. The hunted were now hunters. Back at Krell, Admiral Martinez received reports from the strike groups. The losses were heavy. Over 400 ships destroyed. But the mission succeeded. The Ravagers were confused and angry. They were no longer unstoppable. We hurt them, Martinez said to his officers. Now we keep hitting them. Small strikes, fast attacks. We make them afraid to turn their backs. We show them that humans do not forgive. We do not forget, and we never give up. Captain Elena Vasquez, back from her mission, stood beside him. Her face was hard. She had lost many friends, but her eyes burned with determination. Commander Velkthar said something before he died, she told Martinez. He said we taught them to hold the line. I think we taught them something else, too. We taught them that sometimes the only way to survive is to make the enemy wish they had never started the fight. Martinez nodded. Then let us make them wish exactly that. Send orders to all strike groups. Rest, rearm, and prepare for the next mission. This war is far from over, but now they know what it means to fight humans. Now they know why Earth is called a death world. In the darkness of space, the war continued, but something had changed. The Galactic Council was no longer just defending. They were attacking. They were fighting like humans. And that made all the difference. 6 weeks after the strike operations began, everything changed. Admiral Martinez stood in the command center looking at sensor readings that made his blood cold. The Ravagers had made a decision. They were done playing games. They are bypassing our defenses, Commander Kelvas reported. He had taken command of the Council forces after Velkthar died. They are heading straight for the core systems. Their target is the Council homeworlds and Earth. Martinez felt his stomach drop. The sensors showed 28,000 Ravager ships moving in a direct line toward the most populated systems. They would reach Council space in 3 days. Earth in 5. They are done being careful, Captain Elena Vasquez said grimly. She had returned from another strike mission with half her group destroyed. They want to end this war by hitting us where it hurts most. The combined fleet had 800 ships. They had rebuilt and repaired, but it was nowhere near enough. The math was impossible. 28,000 against 800. Secretary General Lisa Chen appeared on the view screen from Earth. She looked tired and scared. Admiral, we are evacuating people as fast as we can, but we have 6 billion people on Earth. The colony worlds have another 2 billion. We cannot evacuate everyone before they arrive. Martinez felt the weight of those numbers crushing him. Billions of lives depending on choices he had to make. We will give you all the time we can. That is all I can promise. We have recalled every ship we have, Kelvas added. Every species is sending everything they can. We will have maybe 200 more ships in 2 days. It will not be enough. Then Dr. Patricia Moore burst into the command center. Her hair was messy and her eyes were wild. Admiral, we might have something. It is crazy, but it might work. She pulled up technical diagrams. The virus we have been using, it corrupts their biomechanical systems. But I studied the data from the strikes. The virus does not just corrupt resources, it spreads from ship to ship. If we could introduce enough virus directly into their main fleet, it would spread through their entire network. Like a real virus, Lieutenant Nicole Stevens said, understanding. Ship-to-ship contact, shared systems. One infected ship could spread it to the whole fleet. Exactly. But there is a problem with delivery. Patricia hesitated. We would need to get the virus into the heart of their fleet. Deep penetration. There is no way to do that without a ship getting very close. Touching close. Physical contact with their command vessels. The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. A suicide run, Martinez said quietly. Someone would have to fly directly into the enemy fleet and deploy it before being destroyed. Not someone, a voice said from the doorway. Commander Jake Sullivan stepped forward. Me. I have worked with this virus from the beginning. I know how to deploy it for maximum effect. I volunteer. Commander, that is not an order I can give, Martinez said. Good thing I am volunteering then, sir. Jake's face was calm. We all knew this moment was coming. Someone has to pay the price. I am ready. Over the next 2 days, preparations were made. The Liberty was chosen for the mission. Captain Elena Vasquez refused to let anyone else pilot her ship. The virus payload was loaded, a concentrated dose powerful enough to infect the entire Ravager fleet if deployed correctly. The plan was simple and impossible. The combined fleet would attack the Ravagers head-on. While they were distracted, the Liberty would approach from a different angle using experimental stealth technology. Once close enough, Jake would deploy the virus manually by boarding a Ravager ship. No one expected them to survive. No one even pretended they would. The night before the battle, Martinez visited the Liberty. He found Jake in the cargo bay checking the virus containers. You do not have to do this, Martinez said. We can find another way. No, sir, we cannot. Jake replied without looking up. This is the only play. This is how we win. My father told me every generation faces a moment where they choose between their own lives and the future. This is ours. I wish I could give you a better option. Jake looked up and smiled slightly. Better option? I get to save the galaxy. That is not a bad way to be remembered. The day of the final battle arrived. 8 billion people across human space watched as the fleet prepared. On Earth, families gathered to watch their loved ones prepare to fight for everything they held dear. The fleet jumped to intercept the Ravagers. The enemy appeared like a dark cloud. So many ships they blocked out the stars. This is Admiral Martinez to all ships. This is it. I will not give speeches about glory. You know what is at stake. You know what we are fighting for. So let us show these things why they should never have threatened human space. All ships weapons free. Let us end this. The fleet charged forward. The opening attack lit up space like a new sun being born. Human ships moved with precision learned from months of fighting. Council vessels provided heavy fire. It was the largest battle in galactic history. In the chaos, almost invisible, the Liberty slipped through the enemy lines. The stealth systems held, bending sensor waves around them. They passed within meters of Ravager ships, each moment threatening discovery. "There," Jake said, pointing to a massive ship at the center of the formation. "That is a command vessel. It will be connected to their entire network. Deploy the virus there and it will spread everywhere." "Understood. Hold on, Commander." Elena pushed the engines beyond their limits. Alarm screamed as system strained. They burst through the final line, the stealth failing just as they reached the command vessel. Ravager weapons locked onto them instantly. The shields lasted seconds. "Hull breaches everywhere," the tactical officer shouted. "We are not going to make it." "Yes, we are," Elena growled. She fired the engines at full power, ramming the Liberty directly into the Ravager command ship. The impact tore the hull open like paper. In the cargo bay, Jake felt the impact and knew time was up. He grabbed the virus container and ran toward the breach in the hull. Through the torn metal, he could see into the Ravager ship. Organic and mechanical systems pulsed with alien life. He jumped into the void between ships. For a moment, Jake floated in space between life and death. Then he crashed into the Ravager vessel, magnetic clamps locking him in place. He activated the container. The virus released, spreading into the Ravager systems. He watched it work, watched the corruption begin. "Virus deployed," he transmitted. His voice was calm despite alarms in his suit. "It is working. I can see it spreading, ship to ship, system to system. Jake, if you can get back to the Liberty, we can try to recover you." Martinez's voice came through. Jake looked back at the shattered Liberty. The ship was dead, venting atmosphere, burning. His suit was damaged. He had maybe 3 minutes of air left. "Negative, Admiral. I am exactly where I need to be. Tell Earth it was worth it." The transmission cut off as the Ravager command ship exploded, the virus having destroyed its power systems. The explosion triggered a cascade. The virus spread through the fleet's network. Ship after ship began failing, systems corrupting, the Ravager fleet tearing itself apart. On the Defiant, Martinez watched 28,000 enemy ships begin to die, not all at once but in waves, the corruption spreading until nothing remained but debris. "All ships cease fire," Martinez ordered. His voice was rough. "Let the virus work." Over the next hour, the Ravager fleet stopped existing. The combined fleet had lost 300 ships, but Earth survived. The Council world survived. Billions of lives saved by the sacrifice of thousands. 3 days later, the fleet returned to Earth as heroes. But the celebration was quiet. Too many empty chairs, too many names on memorial walls. Martinez stood at a space station looking down at Earth. Lisa Chen joined him. "We won," she said quietly. "We survived," Martinez corrected. "Winning implies we did not lose anything. We lost our best people." "They will be remembered," Lisa promised. "Every person who died will have their name inscribed in the Garden of Hope." In the months after, the galaxy rebuilt. The Ravagers were gone, but the scars remained. 17 star systems dead, trillions of beings lost. The relationship between humanity and the Council changed forever. Humans were no longer primitives. They were partners, allies, friends who answered when called. 2 years later, the Garden of Hope was completed. It floated in space, accessible to all, a monument of crystal and earth plants, beautiful and sad. At the center, an inscription in every language. "When hope was gone, we made one last call." They answered. They fought. They saved us all. Below that in English, "Not today." Admiral Martinez, now retired, walked through the garden reading names. He stopped at Jake Sullivan's memorial, a crystal pillar reflecting light like equations. A young alien child approached him. "Are you Admiral Martinez?" "I am. My parent says humans saved us. Why?" "We rejected you before." Martinez knelt to the child's level. "We are dangerous, but being dangerous is not the same as being bad. When you called, we answered because that is who we are." The child gave him a flower. "Thank you for saving us," Martinez smiled. "Remember the people on these walls. They are the ones who saved you. And when you grow up, if someone calls for help, answer them. That is how we honor their sacrifice." As people left, Martinez stayed. He looked at the stars, thinking about Jake, Elena, Velkthar, and all the others. Humanity had saved the galaxy. But they proved something more important. 5 years after the war ended, the galaxy was different. The destroyed systems remained empty, silent monuments to the billions who died. But life continued. It always did. That was what the war had taught everyone. On Earth, A young woman named Rachel Cooper stood in a classroom teaching children about the Ravager War. She was the daughter of Sergeant Danny Cooper, who died fighting on the Liberty. The children listened carefully as she told them the story. "My father used to say that humans are survivors," Rachel explained. "Not because we are stronger or smarter than other species, but because we refuse to give up. When the Galactic Council called for help, nobody forced my father to go. He volunteered. He knew he might die. He went anyway." A small boy raised his hand. "Miss Cooper, were you scared when your father left?" Rachel smiled sadly. "I was terrified. I was 12 years old and I knew I might never see him again. But I was also proud. My father was going to save people. That is what humans do. We help each other even when it is hard." The boy thought about this. "Did your father think humans were special?" "No," Rachel said. "He thought everyone was special. That is why he fought. The Ravagers did not care about anyone. They just wanted to destroy and consume. My father fought because he believed every life matters, human or alien." Across the galaxy on a Centaurian colony world, a young soldier named Vexithar finished his training. He was the grandson of Commander Velkthar. He had joined the military because of his grandfather's sacrifice. His instructor, a grizzled veteran who fought in the war, watched him complete the obstacle course. "You have your grandfather's determination," the instructor said. "But you also have something he learned from the humans. You have their refusal to accept defeat." "Is that why we train with human instructors now?" Vexthar asked. "Partly," the instructor replied, "but also because the humans taught us something important. Being civilized does not mean being weak. Being peaceful does not mean being defenseless. The humans were both civilized and terrifying when they needed to be. That is the balance we must learn." On the orbital station above Earth, Admiral Kyle Martinez, now a teacher at the Space Command Academy, lectured a room full of young cadets from dozens of different species. They came from all over the galaxy to learn from the humans who won the war. "The Ravager War taught us many lessons," Martinez said. "But the most important was this: unity. We won not because humans were superior, but because we worked together. Commander Velkthar sacrificed his ship so ours could escape. We shared our weapons technology with the Council. They taught us their shield systems. Together, we were stronger." A Selenite cadet, her crystalline form glittering in the light, raised her hand. "Admiral, many say humans are the most dangerous species. Do you believe that?" Martinez thought carefully before answering. "Dangerous is a strange word. A knife is dangerous. Fire is dangerous. But both can save lives or take them. It depends on who uses them and why. Humans are capable of great violence, yes. Our planet made us that way. But we are also capable of great compassion. We chose to help the Council when we gained nothing from it. We risked everything for strangers. That is also who we are." "So we are not dangerous?" another cadet asked. "Oh, we are absolutely dangerous," Martinez said with a slight smile. "But we are dangerous to those who threaten innocent lives. The Ravagers learned that. Anyone who threatens the galaxy will learn it too. That is the promise we made when we answered the Council's call. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves." In the Garden of Hope, now a major destination for travelers from across the galaxy, an old woman sat on a bench looking at the names on the memorial walls. Her name was Patricia Moore, the scientist who developed the virus that defeated the Ravagers. A young couple approached her. They were Valorian, a species known for careful thinking and philosophical discussions. "Dr. Moore?" the male asked nervously. "We wanted to thank you. Our homeworld was in the path of the Ravagers. If not for your virus, we would not exist." Patricia smiled tiredly. "Thank the people whose names are on these walls. I just made the weapon. They delivered it. Commander Sullivan deployed it knowing he would die. That is real courage." "Do you ever regret creating something so destructive?" the female Valorian asked. "Every day," Patricia admitted. "I created something that killed billions of Ravagers. They were a mindless swarm, yes, but they were still living things. But I also saved trillions of lives. That is the burden of war. You do terrible things for good reasons. You live with the weight of those choices forever." The couple thanked her and left. Patricia continued sitting, looking at the memorial. She came here every week to remember and to grieve. On Mars, the largest shipyard in human space, workers constructed new vessels. But these were not warships. They were exploration vessels, colony ships, research stations. Earth was expanding into the galaxy, not as conquerors but as neighbors. Henry Powell, now the director of the Mars shipyards, watched the construction with satisfaction. "We build for peace now," he told his assistant. "But we remember the war. Every ship has weapons. Every colony has defenses. We will never be caught unprepared again." "Do you think the Ravagers will return?" the assistant asked. "The Ravagers are gone," Henry said firmly. "We made sure of that. But there might be other threats. The galaxy is vast. We have explored only a fraction of it. There could be other dangers out there. That is why we stay ready. That is why we train. That is why we never forget." Back on Earth, in a small town in North America, an old man sat on his porch watching the sunset. His name was Carlos Mendoza, the representative who once questioned whether Earth should go to war. He had changed his mind that day. Now 5 years later, he still thought about it. His grandson sat beside him. "Grandpa, they taught us in school today about the vote. The vote to go to war. You voted yes. Were you scared?" "Terrified," Carlos admitted. "I voted to send people to die. That is a heavy thing to carry. But I also voted to save billions of lives. Sometimes there are no good choices. You just choose the least bad option and live with it. Do you think it was worth it?" Carlos looked at his grandson, alive and safe because of that vote. "Yes, I think it was worth it. But we must never forget what it cost. Every name in the Garden of Hope represents someone who gave up their future so we could have ours." As night fell across the galaxy, billions of beings went about their lives. They worked, they loved, they raised families, they dreamed of the future. Most of them did not think about the Ravager War anymore. It was history, something that happened in the past, but some people remembered. The veterans remembered. The families of the fallen remembered. The students learning about the war remembered, and they made sure others remembered too. In a ceremony held simultaneously on every council world and every human colony, people gathered to light memorial fires. The tradition started on Earth but spread across the galaxy. Once a year, everyone stopped to remember those who sacrificed everything. Admiral Martinez attended the ceremony on Earth. He was old now, his hair gray, his face lined with age and memory. He stood with other veterans watching the fire burn. Secretary General Lisa Chen, also retired now, stood beside him. "Do you think they know?" she asked quietly. "Jake, Elena, Velkthar, all of them. Do you think they know what their sacrifice created?" Martinez watched the fire. "I think they hoped. They hoped that their deaths would mean something. That the galaxy would be better. Because of what they did, looking around at all these species standing together, at humans and aliens as friends instead of strangers. I think their hope was justified. The younger generation does not understand," Lisa said. "They did not see what we saw. They do not know how close we came to extinction. Then we tell them," Martinez replied. "We tell the stories. We keep the memory alive. We make sure they understand that peace is not free, that freedom requires sacrifice, that sometimes you have to fight for what is right, even when the odds are impossible." A young reporter approached them, a human woman with recording equipment. "Admiral Martinez, Secretary Chen, can I ask you something for the memorial broadcast?" "Of course," Martinez said. "What do you want people to remember about the Ravager War?" Martinez thought for a long moment. "Remember that when the galaxy faced extinction, different species came together. Remember that humans answered a call from people who once rejected us. Remember that the Council learned to fight like us and we learned to think like them. Remember that we won not through individual strength, but through unity. And remember that thousands of people gave everything so that billions could live. Those are the lessons. Those are the memories worth keeping." The reporter nodded and moved on to interview others. Martinez and Lisa stood quietly watching the memorial fire burn. Around the galaxy, billions of other fires burned too, a network of light in the darkness, each one a promise to remember. In the years to come, humanity and the Galactic Council would face new challenges. There would be disagreements and conflicts. There would be difficult decisions and hard times. But they would face them together, united by the bond forged in the fire of the Ravager War. The galaxy had learned something important, that the most dangerous species could also be the most compassionate, that predators could be protectors, that creatures from a death world could be the galaxy's